Hey, this is Dan. Welcome to Reviewable. This week we're going to talk about the 1998 movie Dark City. This is what the hell we're going to say?
This is The Matrix, but it doesn't spell it out for you. It's not Disney Star Wars.
There you go.
It's old Star Wars where you don't get spoon-fed the story.
Yeah, you actually have to connect the dots instead of them being connected by some monologuing character.
Right. Or treating
So,
you like you're a complete moron.
anyway, watch the trailer after this and stick with me. Welcome to Reviewable. As you know, I've never had anybody else on here, but this is a particularly hard movie to talk about, in my opinion. Dark City is a fantastic movie, but it is not one that has very much humor in it. It's maybe not something that you, after you're done watching, you go, it was super entertaining, whatever. But I personally think it's one of those movies that makes you think. I don't know. What do you think about it?
In some ways, I agree with you. I think it's a very thought-provoking movie, but I also think that it has some outstanding performances that maybe get overlooked, and I think also the score is spectacular. The soundtrack is fantastic, including the songs that are purportedly sung by Jennifer Connelly. So there
Yeah.
there are two versions of this movie. There's the theatrical release, and then there is a director's cut.
And there's not a huge difference, though, in my opinion. There's a little bit more character building, I think, and there's some more details that I think do help push the narrative a little bit more.
Right. The,
But
the 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 biggest difference is there were some lines cut for William Hurt's character, the detective, that audiences felt made him less someone you can relate to. And the director, Proyas, I think he put them back in
yep,
because he is not necessarily. He wants you to relate to him, but he's a detective. He's in a way, he's a film noir detective. How many dead people has he seen? He's not heartless. He is. It's white noise to him as far as death and
right. It's kind of like what's his name character in Seven. Like part of the reason why he wants to quit the whole thing is he's like so tired of that shit. He just everything's kind of blending together, and he
that's
don't
right.
really care anymore. And he's tired of the fact that he don't care anymore.
Right.
And I think that's kind of a little bit kind of how William Hurt is in this character. Like, but you know,
But we're
so maybe before we start deep diving into this, let me ask you. Let me ask you, what is this movie about? What do you think?
well, I mean, fundamentally, I think this movie is an examination of, do your memories make you who you are? Are you who you are? That's what I think it's about. Now, this director, Proyas, he leaves things in a lot of his movies. I shouldn't say a lot. In some of his movies, very oblique or obscure. He wants you to decide, what the
He wants you to
message
interpret
is.
it, yes. But is it just that, or is there more to it?
I think there's more to it. I think there's a message that says we can inhabit the world we're in, or we can control the world we're in. I think it's an allegory that fits in everybody's life because everybody can jump in the water and go with the current,
Yep.
or they can swim,
So
and you might not be able to swim against, a flash flood,
right.
but you doesn't mean you have to drown.
In the beginning, we're introduced to Rufus Sewell's character. I don't know if that's how you say it. I don't remember. His name is John. Yes, John Murdoch.
Yeah,
Okay,
uh,
and he's just kind of like a regular. Regular. We have no idea what his job is. It doesn't really matter. Okay, but he's in a bathtub, and obviously, like something has taken place, and he is dazed, confused, and whatever. You find out quickly that he has no idea who he is, and he gets a call from this guy who purported to be his doctor and says that these people are going to come after him and to get the hell out of there as fast as he can. And so then the fun begins. And the rest of the movie is, in my opinion, exactly what Guy said. It's him either being who they wanted him to be or him deciding who he's going to be. Not based on. So the idea in the movie is that there's these people, these aliens. I guess you could say they're aliens. And they have taken some humans at some point and put them on this flat earther's dream of a planet or whatever, and they're experimenting with humans because their species is dying, and they feel that the only way they can save their species is to figure out what makes the human soul work. Now they don't get any more into it more than that about why. It doesn't really matter. Okay, what matters is what is happening to John Murdoch. Okay, so they're imprinting to get in the beginning of the movie this doctor, which is paid by Kiefer Sutherland. The thing that he was going to be imprinted with was he was supposed to be a murderer, and for whatever reason that was interrupted, and the doctor got spooked and left, and he woke up with no memories. And in my opinion, the whole idea of that, and I don't know, maybe it was I think maybe it might have been on purpose because Kiefer Sutherland had a plan all along, or the doctor. I don't remember what the doctor's name is. It's kind of a weird name. Schreiber, yeah, or Schreiber. I think it was Schreiber. They say it in the
yeah,
movie.
something
Anyway,
like that.
doesn't matter. But I think the whole point of it was that he, like I said, he gets to determine who he is. Your past, it's one of those things like the whole point is that just because you've fucked up and made mistakes in your life, you could be doing whatever you know. But when people judge you based on your past, including yourself, and we do that all the time, usually our worst own critics are us, right? So, but you can change that. You can change who you are, and you can always change your destiny. And there's all kind of thematic elements that kind of show you that kind of some of the things about what's going on in this world, about mazes, and they use fingerprints a lot in it, like zoomed in, because your fingerprint is a spiral, okay, and it's a maze, and they talk about it, and they show rats in mazes,
Well,
and
and not just fingerprints that it's a maze,
right,
but it's a two-part allegory. Our the fingerprint is a little allegory within the movie saying, okay, we can be who we want to be, or we can be what that identity, what the idea of a fingerprint says. We can be that our predisposition.
right.
We don't
Well,
have to be that though, because we
yeah,
have free will.
like what does the thing that separates between us and animals is what our ability to choose. Animals run on instinct, and we run on instinct to some degree too, but we have the ability to decide whether or not we're going to do the things that we have the instincts to want to do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Jennifer Connelly plays his wife. Okay, so keep in mind that in this movie, because these aliens are imprinting people, and they're giving them their personalities, and they're trying to. And the reason, like I said, they're doing this is they're trying to determine what gives us our soul, what makes up a human soul, and for whatever reason, it's his turn to be a killer. And if he had gotten this memory, he would have probably killed his wife. And when he gets up, there's a body there. It's a prostitute, and she's dead. And obviously, he must not have killed her because he was never imprinted. Maybe we don't know. And then the other thing that we learn is that he has an ability. In the movie, they call it tuning. Okay, and so every night at midnight, the strangers, and that's what the aliens are referred to. That's what these guys refer to them. They don't refer to themselves as that, but the people, whoever, do. And they change the city. Literally, they change everything about it. They change the buildings. They make rich people poor people. They make fat people, not fat people, skinny people. They're not on Ozempic or anything like that. But they make everybody different, right? So they're just constantly shifting the narrative and deciding who people are and what they're about and all of that kind of stuff.
And a lot of those shifts are to the extremes.
Yes.
They're taking someone that was poor, and then after the tuning, now they're rich. Or someone that was fundamentally, I guess, would be identified as good, and making them evil. And by this, they're trying to understand what makes us tick. Pretty early on, to me, it becomes clear they don't understand what their end goal is, because they don't understand the idea of a human soul, but they're desperate.
Right. Well, so what, in your opinion, what does tuning represent for him, for the John Murdoch character?
The tuning for him is a way for him to kind of choose his path of who he wants to be, instead of who they have predisposed him to be.
Right.
And that could change every night.
Especially in the beginning, right? He can change his path and do it. But ultimately, toward the end of the movie, they have this fantastic sequence
Right.
and this is, I think, maybe what you're talking about as far as where kind of everything culminates, as far as, and I don't want to just talk about that just yet. But it, in my opinion, it has a really, really well put together ending, an ending that I think has been stolen by other movies, and maybe even done better in other movies, but
stolen
but it was done,
nonetheless.
but it was done first here,
Right.
and it was still done very well here, especially considering. So one of the things you can tell is the special effects in this movie are both dated, but I still think they hold up. You can tell it's like when they're still doing all of that kind of morphing shit and all that kind of stuff, and it still looks good, but it doesn't look like the cheap kind of morphing stuff that like they were doing in commercials and
Willow.
Willow. Yeah, it looks better than the stuff in Willow. If you've never seen Willow, it was okay in Willow, but it's done much better in this, I think.
His movies are done mostly on a soundstage, because he is very inventive with his camera angles. He likes the flexibility of a stage. And so what does that mean? Well, it means practical effects. And so some of the stuff looks staged, like on a stage, but it also gives it, in this movie, it works really well. And the reason is because he's on a stage.
Yeah.
Like, that's how you're supposed to feel. It's supposed to feel something's not right, but he can't quite put his finger on it. And this whole movie exudes that.
So what would you say the style is? Because I think it's like kind of mid-century modern. It reminds me of kind of what's his name, Tim Burton's first Batman movie, and what was it, in 85 or 95 or whatever the hell it was, with Matt. A little bit of that kind of feeling, but not as dirty and whatever. I mean, I think it's better. It's more stylistically.
Obviously, it reminds me of film noir. A detective
like
movie.
Old detective movies, yeah.
Yeah.
50s, right?
Right, 50s movies. I think the only difference to me is, I think it's fair to compare this to Batman or, Tim Burton style movies, but they're not as fantastical. In fact, the fantastic part comes when it becomes science fiction, and actual tuning begins and the changes in the city start to occur. So let's maybe we should talk about specifically this whole journey that Murdoch is going on. All right. The whole movie is an examination of this Murdoch. He's trying to figure out if he's a murderer. But the fact of the matter is it's pretty clear.
And he tests himself at one point too.
Right. It's pretty clear that for us as an audience, he's not the murderer.
Right.
Because there's a great scene that tells you immediately that Murdoch's not a murderer. And that is, after he wakes up, he's walking through the city and everybody is still asleep. And the detective, Bumstead, he is at the murder scene after...
oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
And
he had knocked over a goldfish bowl, and it broke.
Yes.
And they have a fantastic, one of my favorite scenes ever in a movie, he picks up the goldfish and he puts it in the bathtub that he woke in, and the camera is in the bathtub. And
Right.
it's one of the best scenes I've ever seen in a movie. It's fantastic.
Right.
I can't even imagine how many times they probably had to shoot that. So the whole point was that you were saying that you knew he's a murderer, because why would a murderer rescue this goldfish?
Right. So yeah, this and you can tell that Bumstead is like, why? In fact, I think he says,
he does.
why would this murderer save a goldfish? So immediately, and that's what I like about this movie is they don't necessarily spell it out for you, but this feeling of unease that you're supposed to have about this main character, you don't have it, because he doesn't exude that he's a bad guy.
Well, the other thing I like about it too is people reach to the conclusions that they reach in this movie from observing other people through logic and reason, not because that's where the director or the writer wanted the story to go, and so they just have some bullshit narrative monologuing to tell you what's going on or why this is happening, which
right.
happens a lot, obviously, in movies nowadays, I think.
That's yeah.
One of the things that gets people to not just the John Murdoch character, but also Bumstead, the Bumstead character, the detective. There's another detective who has basically had the same thing happen to him as John Murdoch. He has woken up when all this changing is going on, and it's kind of, so he knows that the world is not, it's almost like a Truman Show kind of thing. Like he knows he's seen the stage being set at night when they're doing everything and they're changing the world, and he knows that his wife is not really his wife. He knows that he probably is not who he thinks he is. That his memories are that everything's a fabrication.
Yeah.
And so, and he hasn't figured out that to him, the only way out of it ultimately ends up being his own demise. Okay. And that's on purpose. Okay. That was his choice, right? I mean, the only way he could figure out to take control of his life was to do what? To
remove their control.
Yeah, to remove the control, to basically end his own life. And that's ultimately what he does. And John Murdoch, what he ends up doing, and what hopefully we all decide to do, is that we all sit there and figure out, and that's what the whole movie is about, is him sit there and going, I can be a victim, and I can be on guardrails like on a roller coaster and just go wherever the tracks are going to take me, or I'm going to take a right when they want me to take a left. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. So with that being said, I got to ask you a question, though, because I was thinking about this. So his wife in this is, as we said earlier, was played by, what's her name? Jennifer Connelly.
Connelly, yeah.
And her name's Emma. And she does a good job in this. She's a good actress. And easy on the eyes, obviously. And she sings in this. She does a good job in this, but I actually like her singing better in The Rocketeer. But she's good in this, too.
Well, her singing in the theatrical version is overdubbed by a different singer.
Really?
The director's cut is the only version that has her singing in it.
Okay. Interesting. So I didn't know that. So, to be fair, we did watch the director's cut, and
I watched the theatrical version.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. So we both saw different versions.
Okay. So, and I've seen both. So, and I think you get basically the same message out of both movies. I do think so. I think you get a little bit more out of the director's cut, and it's not too much longer or anything like that. But anyway, so again, I was going to ask you, if he's going to choose everything, why does he choose the wife that they put toward him? So in other words, he wakes up, or she thinks that that's her husband, and to me that means that they've installed her as her, that's his wife, and that's whatever. So why does he?
Well, I think part of it is you can interpret it 10 different ways to Sunday. All right. I guess the two that stood out to me as I watched this movie for the 35th time I've ever seen it are he was going to kill her. He was programmed to kill her, or that was their intention. And I mean, so in a way, it could be an apology. It's a way for him to say, I choose to do the exact opposite of what you're telling me to do. You want me to kill her?
Oh, that's true.
Absolutely not.
Yep.
You want me to whatever? I pull the strings, you don't. Um, the other is he the message could be that he loved her fundamentally 10 iterations ago, 10 tunings ago, and then
Gotcha.
they took her from him, and his heart, his soul that they're trying to understand says, "No,
Right.
I love this woman and ain't nobody going to tell me. I don't even know why I love her, but I do."
Well, and maybe it's one of those things too that because I don't know if I agree with this, but I'm just gonna say that like who can explain what love is? I mean, people have been trying to explain what love is for our entire existence, and I don't know that anybody can accurately. Love is different to everybody, right? I mean, some people
Right.
like to get whipped, and they
Well,
like that, and to them that is love, and other people,
there's
who
the age old question, do you love your mother? Prove it.
right, exactly. So and so maybe that is just like you said, another way for him to. It's just another decision. Like
Right.
he
Well,
he fundamentally did love her, and like you said, maybe that's just what it is. He actually did love her. Didn't matter what they were going to program into him. So we
right.
won't we
So
don't know that, but
right.
ultimately
Well,
he ended up with her.
what's your view of it?
Right. Well, I think that's pretty much it. That it is. He gets to, let's be honest too. Sometimes I think love has something to do with comfort, right? Like you don't know what you don't know, too, right? Is that part of it? I don't know. I mean, the only object of his desire that we are given in this movie is, other than the prostitute, is
Jennifer Connelly's
is
character.
Jennifer's collar channel. But that also could be something too. That is all he. That's the only person he's going after. So he is
Right.
drawn to her. So I don't necessarily know that I see something that makes me go, why is he? Because so in the movie they have her cheat on him, and that's why they have split up at a certain point. But after a certain point, he knows that obviously they just programmed that into her. She didn't actually cheat on him. I mean, maybe that person, maybe they made her do whatever they did, but she didn't make that decision consciously. They programmed that shit into her.
Right. Well,
She is
or she
fundamentally a good
didn't do it.
person.
Yeah, or she didn't do it ever. She just has the memory that she did it because they're implanting
Exactly.
memories.
Yes, and that yes, exactly. So
So,
nobody is, and that's one of the things. If you pay attention, you actually see some other characters doing different things as different people in the movie. So pay attention to that if you watch this movie, because like you'll see the guy who wants rent from John uh, playing some other role in the movie as like a something down in the subway or something like that. I
hmm
can't recall, but you'll
yeah.
see that.
Or his uncle
Oh
uh,
yeah, his
gives
uncle.
up his
Yeah,
seat
at
for
the end of the
Jennifer
movie.
Connelly. Right.
Yeah, it is a movie that is basically like The Matrix before The Matrix, but it does not. Um, it does not stand on the soapbox. Matrix doesn't stand on the soapbox, but I think The Matrix definitely is more explaining to you what's going on. Not that The Matrix is telling you that you're stupid, but
Wow.
it is not giving you the benefit of the doubt. This movie
I
does not explain
I have
anything
to
to you.
disagree with you fundamentally, and
Okay.
only because here's my view of it. I think the Wachowskis have some really good ideas. And
Yeah.
listen, I know we're not reviewing the Matrix, but the Matrix looks down on its viewers. All right, it's given views of existentialism and all sorts of stuff that people aren't aware of, which is fine. Maybe the Wachowskis think they're gonna educate people, but people see this and then I'd say 85% of all people that see mass entertainment just repeat it. Like
Yeah.
now they're experts. That's Wachowskis are giving people a primer of their beliefs.
Yeah. I agree with you.
All right. So this movie is not trying to tell you what to think. It's giving you an idea or a story, and then you can decide what that's about. There's no mistaking what the Matrix is about.
In
Yeah.
many ways, I think this is a much that Dark City is a much better movie. I get why people love The Matrix. I mean, it's got the fantastic action scenes and of course,
special effects or
the
bullet
special
time and all
effects,
that.
bullet time, all that, and all that stuff still holds up, and
Mm-hmm.
they're very good at doing the action sequences, and the choreography was very well done, especially for back then. And there was a
Right.
lot of other interesting things that they did in that movie. But I think thematically, like you said, I do agree with you. The only thing I will say is that I do think when that, because actually Matrix came out literally only a year later after this movie.
Right.
Dark City is not an action movie. Okay. The one thing I will tell you though, that the ending does, I think, is a very well done. I wouldn't say it's super action packed, and there actually is a little bit of, I'm going to say, blood and gore in this, although I don't think it's like absolutely horrible or disgusting.
No.
You see, it's in, for most part, it's like kind of fantastical, not in like whatever, because it has to do with like anytime you kill one of these strangers, the alien or whatever is inside him, it's kind of revealed, and there is blood, but it's like it's almost black, because the entire movie, everything happens at night. There is no day. That's why they call it Dark City. Okay. At the end of the movie, when he takes control of his own life and decides that he's going to make the world what he wants.
I just had a revelation, man.
Okay.
So he's going to Shell Beach. His goal is to go to Shell Beach, and everybody that Murdoch talks to, I want to go to. Have you ever been to Shell Beach? Oh yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
don't know.
How do you get there? You take the 10 and
Oh shit! I just realized. I think I know what you're gonna say. Continue.
so. Well, I don't know. Maybe This is what I like about this movie, though. Is it doesn't handhold you. It lets you come up with your own opinions or whatever interpretation. So anyway, everybody nobody knows how to get to this goddamn place.
Right.
And these aliens clearly don't like water for whatever
Yes.
fucking reason. So, but people are always drawn to water. All people, because it's the thing of life. But the thing I was thinking about is this whole theme is you can choose what you want. Well, what is water? It takes whatever shape you pour it into.
Yeah.
So be like water. That's the whole goddamn point of Shell Beach. I just
Well,
thought
not
of
only
that.
that, but why does nobody else know how to get there?
Right. It's never right.
Because
They all
the only reason why he knows how to get there is because he decides this is how you get there. He
right,
makes the path.
right,
He's a guy with a big machete cutting through the forest.
right.
He
Yep.
makes his own
So
road. So let me ask you that, because I'm going to make another Matrix comparison, and I know I love the scene. Remember the scene in the Matrix, the first time he is jacked in, right? And whatever, he learns kung fu, and he's like, I know kung fu, right? It's
mhm.
pretty awesome, and they introduce that. Well,
Yes, the shot.
yes, and I'll say, okay, so now in this movie, they do this. Okay, they do this. So he gets a shot because, like I said, they're giving you memories, and the doctor has figured out. John has their tuning power, but he only has a cursory
Knowledge.
ability. It's
Yeah.
almost like used under stressful situations or by instinct and things like that. He
Right.
doesn't really know how to control it. So obviously the doctor has an idea. I'm going to, since I can implant memories into you, he does his little magic in the shot and basically creates an entire lifetime of experiences of him training
Murdoch.
John Murdoch on how to use the tuning ability.
Right. It's like jacking in the Matrix, but
Yes,
I think way cooler, by the way.
it is way cooler. Well, because it kind of wears off after a little bit in the Matrix. I mean, it's still cool, right? But it's also,
Well, it's a lot more earned in this.
Yes, exactly.
Um,
It is the payoff, right? And so, and that's exactly what happens in the movie. So they end up capturing John Murdoch, these strangers, and they decide they're going to pour their personalities into him because they think this is how they're going to save their species. And instead of injecting them into John, the doctor puts this memory into him of being trained. And so then we get a little montage of everything, of the doctor appearing in all of his memories, saying, this is how you do this is how you do that, as far as the tuning. and
Yeah.
they got this great scene when he opens his eyes and like he's in this rack with his arms out
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and he just like whatever, and the thing just melts behind him. Like he just you can just say like he instantly has control, and the strangers are like, what the
Oh
fuck is
shit.
going on? Yeah, they're like
Yeah,
shit. Yeah,
they
exactly.
automatically know, like, God, oh, we're done now.
So then, they literally have I'm going to call it a mind fight. They're tuning against one another, and
Mm,
they are literally fighting for control of him, and he's fighting for control of his own life. And
right.
this is the culmination of all of his efforts. So
Culmination.
there's like a older guy that plays like the head, whatever, stranger guy, and he ends up having like uh, he's the one that I guess he's the leader, so he's got to fight a leader. He's not going to fight them all or whatever. But um, there's like shit blowing up all over the place because
The
as they're
city's
like,
changing.
yeah, the city is changing because like there's this device that they funnel all of their tuning into when they're changing the city, and so everything's kind of going crazy, right? And ultimately they end up in the air, and it, obviously John ends up besting this guy using one of his weaknesses against him, which is water. And I guess the only thing I would say that I don't really like is I don't necessarily like how he talks to the doctor in the end about how he's gonna make the world. He almost, I'm just saying the way he delivers his line, he almost seems like arrogant. But I think maybe that's on purpose because he never had control up to this point. So
Well,
maybe that's
okay.
why.
So
Right.
let me ask you a question. Let's say, ask the difference between a guy that just learned a throwing move in kung fu, and then the same guy, hey, show me this throwing move in kung fu, and he's done
Right.
been doing it for 20 years. Yeah, the dude that's known it, well, Murdoch's known it his whole life now
Yes.
because he's got those memories. So he knows what he can do. He's fully capable.
Right.
What I like is the doctor. Murdoch is, "Oh, hey, well, my wife. He's concerned. His first concern is her. And doctor's like, well, yeah, she's living a different life. They did a tuning, and he's kind of indifferent.
Yes.
And
The
it
doctor is.
right, the doctor's, and you know I like the way he delivers that line because the doctor hasn't changed. The
Yes.
doctor was ever only out for his own survival.
Yeah.
And I just like that
That's
the
true.
movie remembers that
Yeah.
because we're at the end of the movie. It could have been the doves could have been flying, and a rainbow could have appeared, but no, this movie remembers who the characters are.
Yeah.
And the doctor, he doesn't give two shits about Jennifer Connelly's character, or
Yeah.
if what's the damn John, if John's with her, he doesn't give two shits. This doctor wants his freedom, and the
Well,
only
right.
person
He only enabled him to have all this power and whatever for his own devices,
I
right?
just
To save for free him, right?
right. So that's what I like about the movie. Okay,
Yeah.
is because it remembers who the
Mhm.
characters are.
So I
Um,
gotta ask you because I know I'm irritated every time I see this part because I really like the Bumstead character. I don't like him at first, but then I do like him, and so I'm really kind of
oh
disappointed
yeah, yeah.
that that he has a short role in this. But I guess, and I really don't like the way he dies. Although I do, I mean, it's realistic. I mean, it doesn't to me. I actually like when kind of important characters are killed off in stupid ways because they're not treated special or whatever. They don't get some glorious death or whatever. You know what I'm
Yeah, yeah,
saying?
yeah. Well, I
Um,
think so I know what you're gonna say, and because of the way he dies. And here's why it makes sense to me. This guy's supposed to be investigating a murderer.
right,
His death is an affirmation in the fact that he knows John is not a murderer,
right, yeah.
and that's what that's all about. I
Well, and
mean,
he helps them out of the situation
right.
actually when they're after
Well,
him too.
he also helps expose the truth, which
Right,
he was
he shows them because they're both at that point. They're both after they
right,
both want to know what the actual truth is. Yes,
right.
and
So I
and
think
the reveal is pretty awesome too. So
well, okay, and so that's the other thing, right? Movies nowadays tend to go overboard in the revelations that they purport to exhibit for you. Where this movie, the idea is more revelatory than
right, showing you some grand image or something.
bullshit special effects, like watching the fucking Ant-Man 3 or something with,
Yeah,
you know,
another
there's
sky beam.
right, yeah, or just some crazy ass subatomic universe. Like what the fuck? It looks like somebody puked on the screen or whatever, but it
Well,
doesn't mean anything.
right, right. Well, and it doesn't. You're exactly right. And then they don't. Like you said, one of the things I like about this movie is they don't run around and explain everything to you. Everything is revealed at the same time. We're learning as the character is,
Right.
um, and I don't think we're talked down to. And it's just it's just not, like I said. There's no comedy in this movie. There might be like maybe one funny part in the whole movie. And it might be amusing if I remember correctly. It's like
Yeah.
Bumstead,
I,
I think. So
I think there's a couple of parts where I laugh, but it's because I'm excited about what's going on. Like, yeah, like
right,
fuck that
right,
dude up or whatever.
yeah. So
Um,
what I think is interesting about this movie is I've never seen Rufus Sewell as a lead character in another movie after this. The only other movie I remember is that I have ever seen him in, and I'm sure he's been in other things, is A Knight's Tale, and he plays the bad guy, and he does a fantastic job as the bad guy, even if he is kind of one dimensional.
oh, you're
But
right, actually.
he's the bad guy in A Knight's Tale, so whatever that Matamore, what I don't know what the hell his name is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so overall, this is obviously a movie you've watched several times. So this is, I wouldn't say this is not one of my all-time favorite movies, but it's definitely a movie I've watched
No,
many times, and I
no,
enjoy
this
every
is
time
one
I
of
watch it.
those, yeah, this is one of those movies where I watched it and I was upset that I didn't see it in the theater,
Yeah,
um, because it was far better than I expected. Like when movies come out of nowhere that make you think a month later, okay, that they did something right.
one of the things that's interesting to me about this movie is it's got two of my favorite writers involved in it. Well, I don't know if they're my favorite writers anymore, but they used to be, but very good writers nonetheless. Alex Proyas and David S. Goyer. Um, I'm not a fan of David S. Goyer too much anymore, but back in the day, that guy was the shit, man. He was very good. So Alex Proyas also directed the movie, and you can tell it was probably a passion project for him. So anyway, thanks for joining us on this review of Dark City. Please like and subscribe and ring the bell and all that good shit, so we can continue to grow this channel. Also, let me know if you like me having my brother on here with me.
Man, I
It's
appreciate you having me.
yeah, it was definitely a lot easier to do the review having somebody to talk it over. This is like I said, part of the reason I did this is a very hard movie to talk about. This is not a Knight's Tale. While that is an enjoyable movie, it is a lot more shallow. That's a puddle. This is a pool. So
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I guess my 2 cents, at the end of this is, I highly recommend this movie. Yeah, you got to watch it. You can't be doing something else when you watch this movie. But I can't recommend this movie enough. I think the soundtrack with the movie is really good. Without the movie, the soundtrack is derivative. It repeats itself quite a bit.
yes,
But it's fantastic with the movie. It's a great example of new form of symphonies. We don't write classical music anymore. So
the music helps push the narrative, especially at the end. I love the culmination of the music at the end when he
yes,
learns everything, and it's very dramatic and powerful.
very
It
powerful. Yeah.
makes the scene way more powerful. If it was
Yep.
shitty music, it would not be as good,
Yep. Yeah.
guaranteed.
And that's what I
So
like about it. So
yeah,
those all those there's so many facets of this movie that could have failed. If any one of those, this movie would be far less than it is.
well, and here's the thing that's interesting to know is this movie did bomb. It basically made its money back,
Hmm.
and that means it didn't make its money because marketing and all that. So
Yeah.
it basically made the price of the movie back in world
Right.
girls. So very underrated movie. So,
Yeah.
but
Go see.
and
Watch it.
yep.
Thanks
Thanks
for
again
having
for
me.
joining us on Reviewable, and tune in next time when I review something else that I have no idea what the hell it's going to be. Thanks.